It's the tech lead.
The tech lead.
I love this. I love his intros, man. He's so bland with the intro. Yo, what's up, everybody? It's David. David Payne is here. All right, so I turn 29 in a couple days, and I wanted to go over some of my biggest regrets. I almost turned 30, and every time you get older, closer to a decade, you always look back and you always try to see if you did everything you said you're gonna do in your 20s. But I think for me, as I'm turning 29, I think I'm at a point now where I'm trying to clean up the mess I made in my early 20s. So let's go over the big 3 regrets I have from my 20s. Definitely money. My concept of money did not change at all. I think from 16 to about maybe 23 or 24, if you gave me $20, that value of $20 didn't change for me until I turned about 23, 24, until I started paying my own bills, because the concept of budgeting and trying to create a budget, saving money, just wasn't a thing for me. I could make $100 to be gone in a couple of days. And I remember one of the biggest mistakes I made when I was around maybe 20 or 21 is I walked into a Verizon store. I got a cell phone, a basic cell phone, for $90. It was a basic plan. I got like maybe 400 text messages a month. It was free after 9 p.m. No internet. It was a slider phone. And I thought that this was a good deal for me because everyone had a cell phone around 2011, 2010, so why not get one too? I couldn't afford it. I was making around maybe $300 a month. I was waiting tables, and to make matters even worse, I went ahead and upgraded when the time came to get an iPhone 4. This is with Verizon. The plan was horrendous. For 2 gigabytes a month, I think around 400 text messages, free after 9 p.m., free to Verizon carriers, I was paying $113 a month. So almost half of what I was earning a month was going towards cell phone bills, a cell phone bill, which is horrendous in itself. And additionally, when I got a bank account with SunTrust, I ended up being pre-approved for a credit card. Here I am, 20, 21 years old, making $300 a month. I think when I did my tax returns, I made probably around $7,000 that year because I was in college, can't really work that much. But I got pre-approved for a credit card, and the credit line was $3,200. And as you know, if you're 20, 21 years old, what are you doing? I was doing a lot of partying, hanging out with friends, going out on dates, doing nothing helpful or doing nothing constructive. Well, not constructive, I was just having fun. I think I maxed out within a couple months. I was paying for tuition, paying for textbooks. I just didn't have any money. I wasn't working, and when I did work, I didn't think about paying for college textbooks or anything like that, and I didn't get that much help from my parents, unfortunately. So anyway, on to the next one. College major. At 17, 18 years old, going to college did not seem like something I really wanted to do. All throughout high school, I was a pretty average student. Anything over a 3.0 was decent to me, or anything over more than a C was like, it's okay. I didn't really necessarily strive to be the best student I could be because I just didn't have it in me. And then once I graduated, my parents were just like, look, get in the car, you have to register for classes. My idea of going to school was just like, well, what am I going for? I'm going as an extension of high school. There's really no goal here, so what's the point? I changed my major at least maybe 5 to 6 times. I went from sign language to psychology to mental health to sociology. And I kind of stuck with sociology because I wanted to do nonprofit work. Thankfully, I didn't take out any student loans to pay for my education. I went for free. Looking back, if I could do it over, I definitely would not have majored in sociology. The reason I majored in sociology is because I wanted to be altruistic. I wanted to go out and help people. So I ended up doing a lot of nonprofit work, making $30,000 a year, maybe 32 if I was lucky. I thought that was good money to make when you're 24, 25. And then as you get a little bit older, as you start to pay a little bit more bills, take on more responsibility, you're like, wow, 30,000 bi-weekly is like maybe 800, 900 bucks after taxes. So kind of glad that looking back, this is something I probably shouldn't have done. And thankfully, I did not take out loans because I've heard too many stories. I watched too many Dave Ramsey videos of people taking out 6 figures in student loans to major in philosophy, psychology, all these majors that realistically have no return on its investment. And if I did take out loans, I probably wouldn't have gotten my return on my investment. I mean, most of the students at the college I went to were taking out maybe anywhere from 40 to 50,000 for sociology. So I think for me, my decision to major in sociology was more emotional rather than logical, because in the end, the cost of living is just skyrocketing. I was hoping to live in DC, maybe Silver Spring, which is like kind of close to DC. And that was a goal I had in mind. And I couldn't pay for rent, couldn't afford it. I ended up living with my parents until I was maybe 26, 27 because of the decisions I made in my early 20s. Majoring sociology, psychology, liberal arts is something that I would not recommend to anyone. If I could do it over, if I could choose my major, I probably would have leaned more towards computer science, maybe business, something where I can get 60, 70 grand as an entry-level job. But for right now, stay away from sociology. To my next regret, I would have to say, a lot of people are gonna give me flack for this in the comment section, but I would have to say video games. I spent a lot of hours playing Halo, Halo 2, Halo 3, Call of Duty, Left 4 Dead. I would just spend hours sitting in my parents' basement from 9 a.m. to maybe 4 in the afternoon just playing. And what I would do is I would plan it so that my parents would get home around maybe 4:30, 5 o'clock. So I would leave before they got home. Then I would come back home around, I don't know, 7 or 8, go downstairs in my parents' basement and play until 12, maybe 1 a.m. in the morning. And this was like routine for me. This was a cycle. I would spend 8 to 10 hours a day playing video games. And I think looking back, if I could redo it over, I probably wouldn't have spent so much time playing. I probably would have studied more, maybe made YouTube videos, maybe focused on hobby, photography, videography, or something. I think all I knew as a child was just video games. And some people say, well, you know, it's not, you can't blame video games, blah, blah, blah. Some people can balance it. I think for me, just my type of personality, I have a very addictive personality. Once I get good at something, I want to just keep doing it. And once I saw there was progress in Halo 3, that was it. I just spent so much time playing video games that people started to notice, and I started to just do this in secret, which is why I skipped school on some days just to play. It was really bad. So I think that if I could go back and do it, I would say I wouldn't buy an Xbox. I would realize there's more to life outside of my parents' basement and playing video games. I mean, really, come on. And I just would focus on making YouTube videos and studying, really trying to be an adult. Because I think that people who play video games for such a long time, well into their 20s, some of them will say like, hey, I'm well established, like I have a life, I have a career. And others will just end up playing until, you know, they're in their 30s, well into their 30s, because they're just so into video games. On to my next one. So the last and final one for me is dating. This is a very important one because I spent most of my 20s with one person. From 20 to 27, I don't regret any of it, but I think that a lot of the time I put into something that eventually didn't end up working out was probably a regret for me, because if you're spending, you know, anywhere from 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years with someone, you have to really start thinking about the future. What are your plans with this person? Do you intend on getting married? Do you want this person just sticking around? You really have to make those boundaries and those ideas very clear for anyone you plan on being with, because I think spending 7 years with someone is just unreasonable. I think that for me, I was just scared to be alone. I was very insecure, self-conscious, low self-esteem. Me going around, or me actually putting effort into dating, was something that I just didn't want to do. And I didn't want to do it because I thought I had to be around someone. And this is to my last and final point. Finding a hobby, these two kind of tie together. Finding a hobby or finding something that makes you happy is very important. I think that for me, I kind of put myself in a box by playing video games and sort of just going to school and just going through the motions and being very unintentional. Once I decided to kind of focus on doing things I've always wanted to do, like photography and dancing, I realized that I lost a lot of time while dating someone from 20 to 27, but I also learned a lot about myself in the end. And I think that if I would have stayed with this person, I probably would have still been playing video games 8 to 10 hours a day. Maybe I would have done photography. Maybe I would have taken it a little bit more seriously. Maybe I wouldn't have been a risk taker. I mean, who knows? But I think my suggestion for myself, if I were to do it over again, is I wouldn't have stayed with someone for 7 years. Maybe a year or two, and I would have just tried to date around. Become a little bit more confident in myself, learn to love myself from the inside out, and not focus on the outside in. Because a lot of times, most of the advice I was given was just like, yo, talk to that girl, get her number, It's just very counterproductive for me, I think. Most of the advice you get from people in your 20s. So I think in the end, remain single, focus on a hobby, get really good at something that's not video games, or I think is the best way to put it.